Almost every continent on Earth has people who've reported they saw a flying creature like a pterodactyl or a dinosaur-like thing with wings but no feathers. How many persons worldwide may have seen a living pterosaur? In the past 100 years, millions of persons may have seen one or more apparent non-extinct pterosaurs, what many persons would call a pterodactyl. What is going on here? Many dictionaries define pterosaur with a word like extinct. With that definition, no such animal can be alive, not even one animal. Well, why don't we set aside that word for a moment? Listen to some eyewitnesses. Notice the following description of the long tail.
And then when it went to dive down by the tree line, I noticed that there was a long tail with a bulb at the end of it, and I kept double checking to make sure, and I'm like, that has to be a tail.
Okay, let's look into this. I've been working on this investigation for 22 years. I've spent well over 17,000 hours on this investigation into the possibility of modern pterosaurs. You're probably wondering, well, why in the world would somebody believe that this young man, Jonathan Archer, has seen a living pterosaur? I mean, this long tail with, it looks like something at the end, a flange structure at the end of the tail. Maybe it's just a misidentification of some bird, and they're looking at the legs and the feet of a great blue heron or something like that. It's much more to this than you might think. Some of the sightings of these flying creatures have long tails and have a flange at the end of the tail. Sometimes the eyewitness will actually see legs that are separate from the long tail. So there's no question it's a long tail. Jonathan Archer looked at it carefully and considered it, and he was convinced it was definitely a tail that he saw.
No, and the reason is because it was just so long. I mean, the tail was so much longer than like a blue heron or a cormorant or a sandhill crane. I've seen those before. Pelicans, I've seen those. But this was a lot longer, and it had a large bulb at the end of this tail. Even from 100 yards out, I could make it out.
Piper tripacer. It has a 29-foot wingspread.
Okay.
And I would say that pterodactyl had the approximate same wingspread as what my airplane did.
The late Dwayne Hodgkinson was a flight instructor. His sighting of an apparent pterosaur, however, was in 1944 in New Guinea. So how can you believe that these are real pterosaurs? Well, you can collect data, which I've been doing for many years, decades. And that shows that these couldn't be very well misidentifications. Those sighting reports were not from a large number of frigate birds that wandered into the middle of North America, and then they stayed in Utah and Kansas and Oklahoma and Arkansas for years. No! Now let's get to this point. How many Americans have had a good sighting of an apparent pterosaur? That is called type number 1 sighting, when the eyewitness tells at least one person about it. On May 20th, 2019, the estimate was made for type 1 sightings in the United States, 37,500 persons. But that does not include the other two types of sightings.